All right, this morning we'll be installing these Stifler subframe connectors on this blue and yellow GT. This is a pretty common modification for cars from this era. They help keep the frame twisting down. They make the whole thing ride a lot straighter, a lot stiffer. If it's had any kind of accidents, this can kind of help stiffen up, straighten up the frame a little bit. Minor accidents, guys, all right. So these are going to be more or less the same no matter which kit you get. The Stiflers are nice because they do a good job kind of pre-masking off the stuff so that I don't have to do a whole lot of grinding. And some of them, they tape it and there's not quite enough metal left. You still got to go in there and grind off some of the paint. Some of them don't mask them at all, and some come completely unpainted. So kind of whatever your skill level is, I guess shoot for that. They all more or less work the same. As long as they're the same thickness and material, it should be kind of irrelevant which brand you get, okay? Some of them are designed a little better, but more metal is more metal, less is less. There you go. So we're gonna go ahead and get these up there. All right, you can definitely do these on jack stands with a floor jack. How we're gonna do it today is with the car up in the air on the lift. That's gonna be the best way, the best result. So the first thing we need to do is get this guy positioned correctly underneath the car. It's gonna come with a hardware kit. It usually works off of the seat bolts. This kit is kind of a nice to have here. This is pre-welded. I've had kits where this is not pre-welded, so this trick won't work. But basically, we can just hang this guy off of those seat bolts and then lift the car up and get everything squared away before welding. And that's going to give us a really nice and easy result. If your car or your kit doesn't have these, okay, and this is a separate piece, what you'll probably need to do is still loosely bolt that in there, all right? And then maybe tack this to it or support this on either end so that you can get it kind of mostly where it needs to be. And again, have everything loose. Make sure you can still move it around, get some heat into it when you re-weld it and kind of bend it a little bit or adjust it. But that'll be how you get these lined up. It's gonna have to happen on the ground pretty much no matter what, unless you're using like a 4-post lift, but there you go. All right, we got our car in the air. Our subframe connector is more or less in place. This is the more difficult of the two sides, so I'm gonna use this one to kind of show you guys what you're doing here. We have it loosely bolted off of the seat bolts, and you'll notice I am not using the supplied nylock nuts, and that is for a reason. This is just for test fitting. I don't want to melt that nylock and burn it up while I'm welding before, you know, we've got everything where it needs to be, right? We should just treat those as single use, put them on once. Every set of instructions I've read is going to tell you to unclip this and move all of these fuel and brake lines kind of out of the way while you weld. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't do that. I get that they want people to be able to confidently do this on the ground, you know. I wouldn't weld anywhere near that unless you're planning on completely removing those lines altogether and then reinstalling them. And here's why. There is so much grease and grime and stuff on the underside of this car. It's going to get hot. It'll likely catch on fire. And if it doesn't, all of the surrounding metal is going to have a lot of heat in it. All right. You don't want that anywhere near your fuel or brake lines. It's just not a good idea. There's plenty of good metal here to weld on. They've given us lots of spots. Okay. If you get a good weld in there and you focus on getting enough heat and penetration, you can skip that spot entirely and it will still be more than strong enough. Because remember, what we're doing here is we are creating one piece of metal. This will be one frame, all right? We aren't bolting on a part and sticking stuff together here. We are literally creating a whole frame by connecting the subframe. That's what a subframe connector does. So we're gonna go ahead and get this welded up and I will show you guys the finished results and then get the other side going. Just to send this point home, here's a grease fire. So definitely be careful, guys. Being the instructions, depending on what kit you're using, what car you're doing, when you put your subframe connector on, you get it tacked up, you get it bolted up, you want to test the door. You have an opportunity to fix your doors here if they're not working correctly, but you want to check the door gaps. You want to make sure that the door open and closes like it should be, okay? This shouldn't take a whole lot of effort to open and close. You shouldn't have to tug on it. It shouldn't be binding up here, okay? If you've got a body kit or something, it should not be rubbing, binding, crunching, none of that good stuff. So it looks like we've got a good working door here. We're good to put it back up in the air and keep welding. All right, and last but certainly not least, you want to prep the areas where you'll be welding. So see if you need to grind anything more off the subframe connector. You may need to really clean up the underside, just depending on what you've got going on there. I'm hoping you guys can see what mine looks like before I start. And we're gonna go ahead, I've just got a wire wheel, flap disc, or a purple paddle work. Do not use a grinder, this stuff is too thin. All right, we got our grinding done, and this is kind of why I like using the wire wheel. Again, it's going to come down to personal preference, but I like that I can kind of shove it in between and make sure that we get a really good clean surface to weld on right there. And while you're grinding, just kind of check stuff out under here, make sure there won't be anything else in your way. I noticed there is another line pretty close to where I'll be welding over here, so I will start my weld on this side to minimize the heat going into this side. And I'll probably clean some of that up, maybe cover it, maybe take a piece of scrap metal even and kind of hold it over there while I'm welding. That one will be one that I do pay attention to. So just take a look, make sure you know what you're doing, and get her all cleaned up. All right, guys, we are doing the other side of our subframe connectors, and this is supposed to be the easy side, but it's a good example of how the stuff is never going to fit up exactly the same, and you got to do your test fittings. So you'll see over here that it's a little lower on the seat bolts there. So we've got it kind of supported by the lift on this side, and I'll probably grab a stand and push it up when I tack weld it. Now, we still got to test the doors after the tack welding, get the bolts down tight, and that'll kind of tell you whether or not you're doing too much. So just keep that in mind. It may not land exactly where it's going to fit on the other side, and you're going to have to play with it a little bit to make sure that everything works correctly.